Hello all, I am Shaila Ayub from the Department of Economics of Government College for Women, MA Road. I have been invited for a talk on thriving sustainable economy as a part of the ongoing program in our college under the aegis of Viksit Bharat at 2047, a vision to strengthen and develop India's economy completely by 2047. We shall begin with India's growth experience in its planning period, navigating its objectives from increasing economic growth to sustainable and inclusive growth. We would see how India is transforming itself by following MDGs and SDGs. The lecture would end by looking into India's strength vis-à-vis its position in world economy. The Constitution came into force on 26 January 1950. Subsequently, Planning Commission was set up on 15th March 1950 and the plan era started from 1st April 1951 with the launch of first 5-year plan. Economic planning in India started after independence in the year 1950 when it was deemed necessary for economic growth and development of the nation. The long-term objectives of 5-year plans in India are high growth rate to improve the living standards of the residents of India, economic stability for prosperity, self-reliant economy, social justice and reducing inequalities, modernization of the economy. To see an overview, let us navigate through the slides of my presentation, which begins with the first 5-year plan from 1951 to 56. The objectives of the first 5-year plan were rehabilitation of refugees, rapid agricultural development to achieve food self-sufficiency in the shortest possible time, and control of inflation. During the period, targets and objectives more or less were achieved, with an active role of state in all economic sectors. 5 Five Indian institutes of technology were started as major technical institutions. The second 5-year plan began in 1956 and ended in 1961. During the plan, the objectives were adopted as rapid industrialization with particular emphasis on development of basic and heavy industries. The industrial policy of 1957 accepted the establishment of socialist pattern of society as a goal of economic policy. During the plan, it could not be implemented fully due to the shortage of foreign exchange. Targets had to be proved. Yet, hydroelectric power projects and 5 steel mills of Bhilai, Durgapur, Rourkela were established. The third 5-year plan began in 1961 to 1966. During the period, the main objective was establishment of self-reliance and self-generating economy. It was a failure. The wars and riots were unprecedentedly present. Yet, panchayat elections were started. State electricity boards and state secondary education boards were formed. We had a planned holiday and in the form of annual plans in 1966 to 1969. During the course of those plans, the objectives were crisis in agriculture and serious food shortage required attention. During the period, a new agricultural strategy was implemented. It involved the distribution of high yielding varieties of seeds, extensive use of fertilizers, exploitation of irrigation potential, and soil conservation measures. The fourth 5-year plan began in 1969 and ended in 1974. It was well ambitious failure. It achieved a growth of 3.5% what was met by inflation. The Indira Gandhi government nationalized 14 major Indian national banks and green revolution in India advanced agriculture. Its main objectives being growth and stability and progressive achievement of self-reliant and Garibi Hatao target. Though it was comparatively a success with respect to the other plans we have till now. The fifth 5-year plan started in 1974 and ended in 1979 with the objective of removal of poverty and attainment of self-reliance. It ended with high inflation. It was terminated by the Janta government, yet the Indian National Highway System was introduced for the first time. The sixth 5-year plan started in 1980 and ended in 85. During the plan, the objectives were the direct attack on problem of poverty by creating conditions of expanding economy. The most targets were achieved. Growth of 5.5% was achieved. Family planning was also expanded in order to prevent overpopulation. The seventh five-year plan began in 1985 and ended in 1990. It had an objective of emphasis on policies and programs that would achieve the growth in food grains production, increase employment opportunities, and raise productivity. With a growth rate of 6%, this plan was proved successful in spite of severe drought conditions for the first 3 years consecutively. This plan introduced programs like Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. They were followed by annual plans from 1989 to 81. During the plan, no plan was formed due to political uncertainties. It was the beginning of privatization and liberalization in India. The eighth five-year plan began in 1992 and ended in 1997 with an objective of rapid economic growth, high growth of agriculture and allied sectors and manufacturing sector, growth in exports and imports, improvement in trade and current account deficit to undertake an annual average growth rate of 5.6%. This plan was a partly success. An average annual growth rate of 6.78% against the target of 5.6 was achieved. The ninth five-year plan began in 1997 and ended in 2002. It had an objective of quality of life, generation of productive employment, regional balances, and self reliance, growth with social justice and equality, with a growth target of 6.5%. It achieved a GDP growth rate of 5.4%, lower than the target. Yet, industrial growth was 4.5%, which has higher than targeted 3%. The service industry had a growth rate of 7.8%. An average annual growth rate of 6.7% was achieved. The 10th five-year plan began in 2002 and ended in 2007. It had an objective of achieving 8.48% GDP growth, reduce poverty by 5 points, and increase the literacy rate in the country. It was a success in reducing in poverty ratios by 5 percentage points, increasing forest cover to 25%, increasing literacy rates to 75%, and economic growth of the country over 8%. The 11th five-year plan, which was a game-changing plan, began in 2007 and ended in 2012. It had an objective of rapid and inclusive growth, empowerment through education and skill development, reduction of gender inequality, environmental sustainability, to increase the growth rate in agriculture, industry, and services to 4, 10, and 9%, respectively. It provided clean drinking water for all by 2009. During the plan, India had recorded an average annual economic growth rate of 8%. Farm sector grew at an average rate of 3.7% and against 4% targeted. The industry grew with an annual average growth of 7.2% against 10% targeted. The last five-year plan began in 2012 and ended in 2017. It had an objective of faster, sustainable, and more inclusive growth, raising agriculture output to 4%, manufacturing sector growth to 10%, the largest of adding over 88,000 megawatt power generation capacity. The growth ended with a growth rate target of 8%. During all those periods, we have a perspective kind of planning with which would make us follow some resolutions in the form of Millennium Development Goals and Sustainable Development Goals. The Millennium Development Goals were 8 international development goals for the year 2050 that had been established following Millennium Summit of the United Nations in 2000, following the adoption of United Nations Millennium Declaration. They were called MDGs, and all those can be enumerated as to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger, to achieve universal primary education, to promote gender equality and empower women, to reduce child mortality, to improve maternal health, to combat HIV/AIDS, malaria, and other diseases, to ensure environmental sustainability, to develop a global partnership for development. The United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which aim at achieving decent lives for all on healthy planet by 2030. The first goal was no poverty. High fertility rates can trap countries in poverty. The World Bank has warned that extreme poverty will not decrease in 2021 due to population growth eclipsing economic growth in the poorest nations. Large family size and poverty often go hand in hand. The second goal is zero hunger. Feeding the world without destroying nature will become increasingly difficult and eventually impossible under sustained population growth. The third goal is good health and well being. Insufficient funding for healthcare systems can cause them to buckle under the pressure of growing populations. The goal 4 is quality education. Greater investments in quality education is key to elevating poverty and ending population growth. Due to gender inequality, girls are disproportionately affected by lack of access to education. Still, 1 in 4 girls do not attend secondary schools. The fourth The fifth goal was gender equality. Empowering women and girls to take control of their bodies and lives is crucial for solving our biggest social and environmental crisis. The sixth goal is clean water and sanitation. The combination of climate change and population growth is fueling a global water crisis. As our numbers grow, aquifers get overdrawn, pollution increases, and capacity to safely dispose of wastewater is increasingly compromised. The goal 7 is affordability and clean energy. The number of people using dirty fuels is still increasing due to population growth and slow progress in rolling out renewable energy. The goal 8 is decent work and economic growth. A high number of young dependents make policy prosperity almost impossible and is also a recipe for social unrest. The ninth goal is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. The larger the population, the harder it is to provide access to modern infrastructure and technologies to everyone, and more nature will destroy in this process. The 10th goal is reduced inequalities. Vast disparities exist between the rich world and the global south and within countries themselves. A more just global system in which resources are distributed more equitably is essential. The 11th goal is sustainable cities and communities. More than half of the world's population lives in urban areas today. By 2050, this proportion is expected to rise to 68%. Rapid urban population growth can outstrip the pace at which infrastructure such as clean water, sanitation, health, jobs, and education can be offered. The 12th goal is responsible consumption and production. According to the UN, material footprint per capita is high in high income countries is 60% higher than the upper middle income countries and is more than 13 times the lower income countries. The goal 30 is climate change and climate action. Unsustainable consumption patterns in high income countries are largely responsible for the climate crisis, but every additional person on our planet adds more emissions. The 14th goal is life below water. Pollution, plastic or runoff, overfishing, coral bleaching, coastal ecosystem destruction are all exacerbated by population growth. Two-thirds of marine areas have been damaged by human activity, and a third of sharks and rays and a third of reef corals are threatened with extinction. The 15th goal is life on land. Human population growth is one of the main causes of biodiversity loss. According to WWF, we have lost 60% of all vertebrate wildlife population since 1970. During that time, our population has more than doubled. The 16th goal is peace, justice, and strong institutions. In the absence of prosperity and strong institutions, populations growth continues to conflict related to scarce resources. Educating and empowering women and communities, including ensuring access to voluntary family planning services, can help support peace and stability goals by increasing the foundation for stability. The 17th and the last goal is partnerships for the goals. Cross-sectoral partnerships that recognize the crucial links between social and environmental issues are key to the better future. COVID-19 has presented unprecedented challenges, reversing decades of development and causing a deep global recession. As India is crucial in determining the success of SDGs globally. At the UN Sustainable Development Summit in 2015, Prime Minister Narendra Modi noted, sustainable development of one-sixth of humanity will be of great consequence to the world and our beautiful planet. The genesis of SDGs can be traced back to the Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil from 3rd to 14th June 1992. The conference gave recognition to the interdependence of nature, of social, economic, and environmental development, and the importance of sustained efforts across sectors for a ripple effect. The summit also recognized the concept of sustainable development as an attainable goal by people across the world and at all levels of governance, whether local, national, regional, or international. The year 2015 became a milestone year for global governance as the journey of MDGs to SDGs started taking shape. The SDGs agenda, built upon the success of 8 MDGs, bridged the gaps under the previous initiatives. Mary Robinson, a former president of Ireland, described 2015 as Bretton Woods moment for our generation. As a part of post-2015 developmental agenda, the 2030 agenda for sustainable development called for action by all countries developing or developed. The goals encourage the actors to move away from the business as usual approach and ensure that no one is left behind. These underlying principles call for greater global partnerships and commitments consistently between national and global policies and balancing three dimensions of sustainable development, the economic, social, and environmental, while also addressing areas of critical importance by simulating action on five key areas and themes, which are people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships. At the operational level, it became clear that modality of international cooperation surrounding sustainable development has drastically changed, focusing on the North-South cooperation while absolutely critical will only make it longer to achieve the goal of sustainable development. Hence, while emphasizing the importance of North-South cooperation, it was stated that collective action involving all countries and various South-South and triangular cooperations will contribute to solving common problems and advancing shared interests. SDG 17 Partnership for the Goals lays emphasis on the above said and underscores that sustainable development goals can only be realized with a strong commitment to global partnerships and cooperations. Few steps have been taken throughout the world and at India also. Some of them are: the first is fostering global partnerships. The progress of SDGs has been challenged by major global shocks including COVID-19 pandemic, geopolitical conflicts such as Ukraine-Russia conflict, the Afghanistan crisis, restrictive trade policies, high energy prices, the food crisis, and the triple planetary crisis, climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss. In this light, partnering for confronting the challenges, mobilizing both existing and additional resources, and strengthening international cooperation, coordination, and solidarity as understood under SDG 17 has gained more significance. India has actively contributed to global common goods for its actions, national policies, and also through collaboration with countries on bilateral and multilateral level. This reinforces the Indian philosophy of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The world is one family as a cornerstone of India's foreign policy. The formation of International Solar Alliance, Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure CDRI, digital transformation via India stocks, and recent lifestyle for environmental movement are some of the cases in regard. We will be seeing them one by one. So let us begin with global clean energy. Under the ISA action plan, One Sun, One World, One Grid, the alliance seeks to create a common solar grid at the global level. This involves rapid and mass development of solar energy, sustainability, energy supply, promoting research and development for overcoming fluctuations in the availability of sunlight, and maintaining reliable base load capacities at all times. With the opening of its membership for all UN members in 2018, the One World, One Sun, One Grid initiative will be fostered to develop a transnational grid to transport the solar power generated across the globe to different load centers. The second is disaster resilience. Under the India led CDRI initiative, Infrastructure for Resilient Island States serves as a knowledge center for member countries to share and learn best practices with respect to disaster proofing and existing upcoming infrastructure. According to CDRI, every dollar invested in making infrastructure more resilient in low and middle income countries can potentially save losses of over $4 when a disaster strikes. Also, it estimates that in the last few years, several small island states have lost 9% of their GDP in a single disaster. In the wake of an increasing number of disasters, IRIS aims at strengthening infrastructure in small island states so that they are more resilient against climate disasters. The third is One Earth and One Health. One Health. The COVID-19 pandemic, which engulfed the entire world, demonstrated that collective efforts must transcend national boundaries. In this regard, Vaccine Maitri fostered the motto of One Earth, One Health. As of June 15, 2022-23, under Vaccine Maitri, over 100 countries have received vaccine supplies of 301 million. Telemedicine and digital health are also transforming the global healthcare landscape. Given the changing nature of transnational emergencies, India has consolidated its position as the first responder, not only assisting its own people but also extending a helping hand to the people from other countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his inaugural address on the sixth edition of One Earth and One Health Advantage Healthcare India 2023, underscored that India's goal is to make healthcare accessible and affordable, not only for our citizens but for the whole world. The next following is sustainable lifestyle choices. The Lifestyle for Environment LIFE mission, introduced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the COP26 in Glasgow, is a mass movement to nudge individual and community action to protect and preserve environment. According to a report by International Energy Agency IEA, the global adoption measures targeted by LIFE, including behavioral changes and sustainable consumer choices, would reduce annual global carbon dioxide emissions by more than 2 billion tons in 2030. Further upon India's proposal, the year 2023 was designated by United Nations General Assembly as the Year of Millets. This initiative creates awareness about the nutritional and health benefits of millets, Shri Anna, as stated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and their suitability for cultivation under adverse and changing climatic conditions. This provides India and the world the opportunity to contribute towards food security and ensure livelihoods and income for farmers and poverty eradication, particularly in regions that are drought prone or threatened by climate change. Multilateral forums such as G20 under the Indian presidency have also aligned their vision with the 2030 agenda by embracing the above initiatives. India's G20 presidency has strengthened LIFE initiative by anchoring it in the G20 framework. All G20 ministers have committed to putting sustainable development at the center of international cooperation agenda. We have also followed a process of women-led development. India is transforming from women development to women-led development by maximizing women access to education, skill training, and institutional credit, achieving gender equality and women empowerment through women-led development is also integral to each of 17 SDGs. The transformation of women development to women-led development is not only empowering women economically but will also increase their contribution to the GDP of the nation. It is estimated that by simply offering equal opportunities to women, India could add US $770 billion to its GDP by 2025. At the national level, India has placed women empowerment at the heart of its Atmanirbhar Bharat development agenda. It is committed to supporting their holistic development at all stages of life through policies and programs such as Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Mudra schemes, Mission Poshan, Jan Dhan Yojana, and bridging the digital divide for providing technology in regional and Indian languages. At the global level, an acceleration of the pace of achieving the SDGs need to be done, keeping in mind the demands of emerging new world order, as envisioned under SDG 17. Collaborative and supporting policies, all the levels of governance are key to achieving the targets. Further, these supportive strategies and policies will need to be accompanied by improved access to energy and development contribution, finance, technology, and capacity building support. India translates the vision as Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas. Together for everyone, growth with everyone, trust with everyone, and efforts with everyone. So, with all this, India has got a number of advantages to itself. What gives India an edge over other countries is a strong demographic dividend. By 2030, India's average age of workforce will be 32 years, by 2055 would be longer than any other country. It has a vast market base, the second largest population base, hosting 18% of world population. By 2030, 1 in 2 households expected to be middle class. Only 5% of India's population will be poor, and 51% of India's households would be larger enough to cater a world market. A very large English speaking population. India has a large English speaking population which is useful for business purposes in the global connected world. It has a rapidly liberalizing economy. In June 1991, India embarked on its journey of economic liberalization. Several industries deregulated, state owned enterprises privatized, and government opened its door to FDI. It has a growing skilled workforce. Required to create 8.1 million jobs annually, India has steadily increased budget allocations. In 2015, India launched Skill India to train 400 million people by 2022. So, with all this advantages and the momentum over the planning period, it has gained some global rankings. The world is recognizing India's growth narratives. It has jumped 79 spots from 2014 2019 in World Bank Doing Business rankings. India jumps 14 spots to reach 63rd place in the World Bank 2020 Ease of Doing Business ranking. Doing Business 2020 listed India among 10 economies that improve the most in Ease of Doing Business score. India's economy's latest global advancement follows a jump by 23 positions in Ease of Doing Business 2019 ranking. It crossed 79 positions over 6 years in Ease of Doing ranking, a record feat for major economy. The progress has been driven by India's government policy and regulatory initiatives since 2014. World Bank's Doing Business report studies 190 economies across 12 business regulatory areas where Prime Minister Narendra Modi starting a Make in India campaign focused on attracting foreign investment, boosting private sector, manufacturing in particular, and enhancing country's overall competitiveness. India continues to be South Asia's top ranked economy. It has made top 10 in the ease of doing performance list for the third consecutive year. Top performance indicates that business regulatory reform is a multi-year process. It has carried out 4 reforms related to starting a business, dealing with construction permits, trading across borders, resolving insolvency. India's microfinance sector saw 50% lower default rates, higher operational efficiencies. India continues to be South Asia's top-ranked economy, drawing strong FDI interests. There are other world rankings, which can be enumerated as in 2018, being fifth largest global manufacturer, India was ranked 30th on the World Economic Forum's Future on Production report. Between 2005 to 16, number one recipient of Greenfield foreign direct investment among Commonwealth bloc of 53 countries. Moody's Ratings 2017 has put India's sovereign bond rating to BAA2 from BAA3. In 2019, India was still the fastest growing major economy in the world despite weak growth rate as per IMF. It is number one attractive emerging market for global partnership investments as per Emerging Market Private Equity Association. The outlook report of WSP states India remains largely positive, led by robust consumption, investment, and reforms. In order to make India thrive resiliently, it emerges as a global power by 2047. It is imperative that we all participate in the developmental strategies. Viksit Bharat at 2047 is a step towards the same. Let us all prove our being in the economic systems around us. Let us all participate. I thank our worthy principal madam and the coordinating team of the college for giving me an opportunity to share my views. Thanks a lot.